breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Danny Vietti of CBS Sports. We have to try to decipher what has been undecipherable, this incredible American League landscape in general. We'll ask him if there's a team or two that he's feeling bullish on, what to make out of this. We'll also be talking about the fall of the Braves, the Brewers, what they might be doing at the deadline, and so much more. And then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, learn CM, they mean does not matter. So, as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but we had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Thursday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The New York Yankees offense finally woke up 12-4. They do get the job done on a big win over the Tampa Bay Rays. As for the Rays, this was not a Ray, but this was more of a boo, as they did not get the start that they were looking for. Drew Rasmussen, 6 runs allowed in 2 1/3 innings, and he was cranked deep in this one. As being able to go deep, it was Mr. Ben Rice, his 27th home run season, a little bit later on off of Casey Lugumina, 28th home run of the campaign, and then Austin Wells hits it Wells off of Cam Boozer, 5th home run of the campaign for Boozer, gives up that home run in 1 2/3 innings of work. Casey Lugumina, 3 runs allowed over the course of 2 innings. He did have Craig Kimbrell give up a run in an inning, Chris Roycroft a run given up in an inning, and this would be a position player, Ben Williamson, a scoreless setting. Paul Blackburn, he walks the plank as the opener. 1 run allowed over the course of 2 innings, was cranked deep by Junior Caminero, 27th home run season, now 12 home runs in the last 16 games for him. Jake Bird gives the Bird with 2 runs allowed in 2/3 inning. Ryan Yarbrough, a scoreless setting. Camilo Duvall, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brent Hendrick, you got 3 strikeouts, did give up a run in 1 2/3 innings, but Anel Shavili, 2 shutout innings, and Tim Hill, he was able to give you a scoreless setting as well. For the Baltimore Orioles, they get a 3-2 win over the Chicago Cubs. Trevor Rogers was in the neighborhood, gives up a home run over the course of 6 innings. Say Suzuki, I see you for your 15th home run season. And David Peterson, good job for the Petersons. He gives up 1 run in 5 innings, was taken deep by Tyler O'Neill, 6th home run season, but improvement. And then from there, Gavin Hollowell, for outside the bullpen scoreless, Caleb Theobar, pair of out scoreless, and then Tyler Ferguson gives up 2 runs in a 1/3 inning. Ryan Rolson, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, but too little too late. And then Ynier Cano, Andrew Kittredge, scoreless innings for Baltimore. Did have Tyler Wells give up a run in an inning, but they did a Wells enough job to be able to get the job done there. Also being able to get the job done, the Atlanta Braves, they win 10-5 over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller, who was pulled after 3 innings, he had a long rain delay in this one, and he gave up 3 runs and was cranked deep by Matt Olson, 25th home run of the campaign. A little bit later on, you had Mike Yastrzemski get his 6th home run of the campaign. That would be a grand slam off of Dennis Santana, and he's had a rough year. 4 runs allowed over the course of an inning of work, and then you had 3 runs given up in an inning by Cam Sanders as he gives up a home run to the new shortstop Jim Jarvis, his first home run of the campaign. For the Pirates, he did have a few scoreless innings, as you had Hunter Stratton give you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez. 2 shutout innings, Gregory Soto, scoreless inning, and Bryce Elder did look elderly. 3 home runs allowed, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned over the course of his 4 innings. Brian Reynolds, 14th home run season. Jake Magnum, his 2nd. Emmanuel Valdez, his 7th. And then you did have J.R. Ritchie give up a run in 1 1/3 innings. Dylan Dodd, a scoreless inning. You had James Karinchak and Danny Young both come in scoreless. Young, a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Karinchak, a full scoreless inning. And Victor Medeiros, he was able to give you a scoreless inning as well to be able to get that one in. We haven't been able to see this much recently. The Mets, they get a win, 7-3. They take down the Kansas City Royals as Michael Wacha, more like Michael Waka 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 Waka. That's a dying Pac-Man voice. 6 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. He gives up a home run to Tyrone Taylor, 6th home run in the campaign, and then Beck Way, he gives up a home run to Juan Soto, 21st home run of the season. Way gives up that home run in his inning of work. Lucas Erceg, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Jose Cuas, a scoreless inning, but Sean Medea, relatively good start here. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 7 innings. Does give up a pair of bombs. Lane Thomas, 7th home run season. Bobby Witt Jr. is 13th, but then Oscar Brisbane, Devin Williams, they're both able to turn a scoreless inning. Had lots of scoreless innings turned by the Boston Red Sox. 2-1, they're able to take down the Chicago White Sox. As for the Southsiders, Anthony Kay says okay to a pretty solid start. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Jordan Nix, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Grant Taylor, a scoreless inning, and then you did have Tyler Davis, both give you a scoreless inning as well. And then Patrick Sandoval, first start since 2024. Not bad. 1 run allowed over the course of 4 1/3 innings. Duran Guerrero, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Garrett Woodlock, Justin Slayton, Aroldis Chapman, they all end a scoreless inning. And for the White Sox, they leave 7 men on base. In this one, the Miami Marlins, they didn't leave a ton of men on base. 8-4, they were able to take down the Seattle Mariners. Bryce Miller has been so good this year. 6 runs, 4 of which were earned, give it up in 5 innings, and it was great deep by Griffin Conine, 4th home run of the campaign. From there, you did have Chris Wilcox be able to land a scoreless inning. 2 runs, give it up in 2 innings by Michael Rucker, and then for the Miami Marlins, they were able to get a better than expected start here from Jansen Junk. Not a load of junk. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 5 innings, was cranked deep by Randy Arozarena. 10th home run of the campaign. Dom Canzone a little bit later on off of William Kepner. 15th home run of the season. Kepner gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning, so it's a 174 ERA. Meanwhile, Lake Bakar, 2 shutout innings. Calvin Fauché, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Tyler Zuber was able to give you a scoreless inning, being able to get lots of scoreless innings as well. How about the Philadelphia Phillies? 1-0. They take down the Cincinnati Reds. For the Reds, Brady Singer was great. 1 run allowed in 7 1/3 innings. Sam Moll, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. TJ Antone, scoreless inning, but Jesus Luzardo, 11 punch-outs in 7 shutout innings. Jonathan Bolin, Yohan Duran, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. And then for the Detroit Tigers, they take it to the Athletics. 4-1, the final is Framber Valdez. 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Kyle Finnegan, Kenley Jansen, they both under scoreless inning. Jack Perkins, a bulk guy, not great here. 3 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings. He was taken deep by Zach McKinstry, 4th home run of the season, and Jake Rogers, 2nd home run of the series, 3rd of the campaign. And then you had home run number 1 of the season for the pinch hitter, and I believe this is his first career home run, Eduardo Valencia. So congratulations to him as he cranks that off of Hogan Harris. He gives up that home run in his inning of work. Jose Suarez is the opener, 4 outs out of the shoot scoreless. Luis Medina, 5 outs scoreless as well, and then Mark Leiter Jr. scoreless out of his zone, but just not a lot doing for the Athletics at the plate. A lot doing for these guys at the plate, though. The Cleveland Guardians, they haven't put up a 5 spot very often. 5-2, they take down the Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober, not bad here. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. He does give up home run to Gabriel Urias, 5th home run of the campaign, and then 3 runs given up by Kendrys Rojas in the course of 2 innings. He does give up home run to Chase Salauter, his 9th home run of the season, and Patrick Bailey has been awful at the plate. He was able to get a home run off of Woo Suk Go. He comes over from South Korea for Mr. Go. I believe that this was his debut at the MLB level. A solo home run given up in his inning work. Cody Funderburk, 8 scoreless inning, and for Bailey, that was his 3rd home run of the season. And Gavin Williams just continues to get strikeouts. 11 punch-outs in 7 innings. Does give up 2 runs, including a home run to Royce Lewis, 9th home run season. From there, Hunter Gaddis, Kate Smith, they're both able to turn a scoreless inning. The Arizona Diamondbacks get the job done against the Slam Diego Padres by a count of 3-1 as Griffin Canning, not too badly canned here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 4 2/3 innings, but Merrill Kelly was even better. Gives up a solo run over the course of 7 innings. Manny Machado, 19th home run season. Lone run, the Padres will get Kevin Ginko, Paul Sewald. They both landed scoreless inning, and then Yuki Matsui, he gives up a solo run in his inning of work. Nolan Arenado, 11th home run of the campaign. Bradley Rodriguez, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Manny Peralta, Adrian Morejon, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they go out there and get the job done against the St. Louis Cardinals. 8-4 the final as Logan Anderson, first start in quite a while from not the best. 3 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, but better than Andre 3000 Palante. Didn't give up 3,000 runs, but not too far from it. Gives up a home run to Jake Bowers, his 17th home run season. Gives up 6 runs in 5 innings. And then you had a solo home run, give it up to Bryce Terang, 13th home run of the campaign by Louis Gaslam. He gives up that solo home run in his inning of work. And then after that, you had Gordon Gassefo give you 2 shutout innings. Matt Savanson gives up a run in his inning. And then for the Brewers bullpen, Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe, both on his scoreless inning. Chad Patrick does give up a solo home run in 1 2/3 innings to Jordan Walker, his 22nd home run of the campaign. Giants absolutely take it to the Colorado Rockies, 8-2 the final. Ryan Feltner, 4 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings as you had Casey Schmidt get his 18th home run of the season, Bryce Eldridge his 8th, and Willie Adames a little bit later on off of TJ Shook. Well, he shook him up good for his 15th home run of the season. Victor Vodnik, 1 2/3 innings scoreless, and then Shook gives up 4 runs over the course of 2 innings. Carson Weizen 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, and he does give up a home run to Willie Castro, 7th home run season. JT Brubaker, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Eric Miller, Caleb Killian, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. And then the Walker Texas Rangers walker their way to a 7-6 win. They did blow a 6-1 lead in this one as Nathan Eovaldi, 4 runs, 3 of which weren't given up in 6 innings, punched out 10, but Peyton Gray, he inherited some men on base and he could not hold them on. He gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Tyler Alexander out of the bullpen scoreless, but then Jacob Latz, Colwyn, they combine for 2 shutout innings as Reed Detmers, not his best start. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, gives up 3 bombs. Brandon Nimmo, 9th of the season. Ezekiel Duran, his 8th, and then Justin Foscue, his 7th. From there, Chase Siltha, a scoreless inning. You had Brent Suter give up a run in his inning of work. Ryan Zephyrian, Evan Bachman, both give you a scoreless inning, and the Kirby Yates, who's actually been better recently, gives up the walk-off winner as Wyatt Langford, fresh off the injury list, he was able to deliver an RBI single to get that one to the window. And then if you're looking at everything that we're getting trend-wise in Major League Baseball right now, overall for the season, the over rate is right around about about 50.7-ish%, 691 overs to 674 unders, and if math serves me correct, we've had 32 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line, more on 56.3%, 765 and 594 on the money line, and if you're looking at how many of those teams have been able to cover the run line, I've had a grand total of now 181 not be able to do so over the last 7 days. Favorites, you've seen 14 of them not cover the run line, but absolutely cleaning house. 59 and 33 on the money line, 64.1% there, and the over rate only 47.5% or so over the last 7 days. 44 overs, 49 unders, and 2 pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, let's chat it up with our good buddy, Danny Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports. Right here on the Baseball Betting Show, with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by this man, as we've got Danny Vietti aboard. He does such a great job over at CBS Sports, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he does an amazing job with his podcast, the Wake and Rake podcast. He does that with Will Middlebrooks, who is a part of that Boston Red Sox team that won the World Series, but in my book, more importantly, was a former Milwaukee Brewer. So always warms my heart to be able to get Danny aboard and to be able to follow him on the old Twitter/X. Easy enough. His first and last name, Danny Vietti, Vietti on the last name. And Danny, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Appreciate you having me on, Greg.
Absolutely. And Danny, I've been asking this on the podcast the last few weeks, and I will ask it to you. What in the world do we make out of an American League that seems about as clear as mud and might be the worst league I've ever seen in the history of baseball?
Yeah, it's let's start in the American League West, shall we? After the first month of the season, after April, the first place Astros at 5-2 on April 1st, I should say. On May 1st, it was the A's at 17-15. On June 1st, 32-29 with the Mariners. American League West leader on July 1st was the Texas Rangers, 44-43. And now, as we look today, and we're recording this podcast, it's the Seattle Mariners that are leading the division. So that's kind of a microcosm of how this American League has gone. There is not a single team across this league that is running away with any one of these divisions. American League Central, very similarly, it was the Guardians and the White Sox, and then the Guardians, the Twins became involved. And here we are on the beginning of July, and it's the Chicago White Sox atop the division with the Guardians just right on their heels. The American League East, Tampa Bay Rays were leading the division. Then the Yankees went on a run. Now the Tampa Bay Rays are back in front. I think I said this the last time you had me on, Greg, and it's just the mere fact that each of these teams in the American League have holes. You look at the National League, good luck looking for a single missing piece on the Dodgers roster. You could make the argument that the Milwaukee Brewers, albeit missing some superstar power, good luck looking for missing tools in their toolbox. Similarly with the Atlanta Braves, when healthy, good luck finding holes. American League, I could find holes in each and every single one of these teams. Seattle Mariners, too much swing and miss. Chicago White Sox doesn't have enough dominant starting pitching. Tampa Bay Rays lacking power. There's a lot of these teams in the American League that are missing pieces, which could make for a very exciting deadline, because if you're missing pieces, it only means that you're going to be that much more aggressive at the deadline.
Yeah, but I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what we get there, as Danny Vietti, who does such great work over at CBS Sports, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And is there one or two of these teams that you feel like might be able to make that rise, and you're actually seeing something that you might like out of one or two of them?
I'm interested to see how Tampa is going to go about this trade deadline. We know what Tampa's about. They play a little bit of small ball. They lack power, although Caminero is an MVP candidate in and of himself and provides most, if not all, the power within that lineup. Not to mention Yandy Diaz is a fantastic average hitter. Ronda sets the table. But after that, it's a lot of small ball. Move the runner over with a bunt here. Move the guy over with less than 2 outs. Score him from third, less than 2 outs. Run production is limited for Tampa. Now, starting pitching-wise, they've done a really nice job buttoning things up. Rasmussen, although got hit around a little bit yesterday, has been an all-star type player. Griffin Jacks, since moving to the rotation, has been an absolute stud. Ian Seymour has a 10-plus strikeout per nine since going over to the rotation himself. Nick Martinez was fantastic, especially early on in the season. So this is what Tampa does. They find lightning in a bottle players. They find minor leaguers that come up, become all-stars like Brian Baker. But what Tampa has been missing for years is some star power and a middle-of-the-order hitter. Now, of course, I mentioned they have Junior Caminero, who is, again, an MVP candidate. But at least in recent years, allegedly, they were willing to offer Shohei Ohtani a monster yearly salary as opposed to a long-term deal to try and pry him over to Tampa. Now, that didn't end up working out. But I think Tampa, who a franchise is still looking for its first World Series, they've gotten to the World Series twice. They just come up short. I think to get over that hump, they're going to have to put cards on the table and see where everything lands. And I'm curious to see if Tampa, if this is the year that they think, especially with the CBA not knowing what's going to happen with a potential salary floor, is this the year that Tampa Bay puts all the chips on the table and says, all right, I'm all in. Let's see what happens with this American League seemingly wide open.
Yep, it does seem very wide open, as we do have Danny Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And Danny, we talked about it the last time you were on, and it felt like there was really a nice big three in the National League with the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Brewers. But while the Dodgers and the Brewers have been very rock solid, all of a sudden the Braves have fallen off. And what do you make out of both they and an American and a National League East, where certainly the Phillies are rising up, but don't look now, the Miami Marlins are on their heels too.
No, the Marlins have been the best team in the National League East over the last 2 months' time. The Braves have just been banged up, and this is unfortunately something that they dealt with a year ago. Strider was on the shelf much of the year last year. Acuna was on the shelf a lot of the year last year. Similarly, this year, Acuna's on the shelf now. Schwellenbach shelf, Strider shelf, Smith-Shaver shelf. It's just a lot of talent on that injured list right now. Sean Murphy on the shelf. They haven't really been able to find that everyday shortstop. They tried Dubon there. They tried Jorge Mateo there. It's just kind of a plug-and-play type situation. So I think when this team is healthy, offensively, they're as good as any team in baseball, including the Los Angeles Dodgers, when at full strength. But this team needs starting pitching. And I'm curious, we were just talking about the Atlanta Braves with a couple coworkers of mine, and we kept saying, look, they have 4 top 100 prospects. But the problem is 2 of them are top 50, so they're like 48 and 46, I think, prospect-wise, and the other 2 are down in the 70s. So they don't have any prospects within top 40. Is that going to be enough of a trade package to potentially pry a Tarek Skubal away, or even a Joe Ryan from Minnesota? Or are they going to have to settle for maybe a Michael Wacha or a Seth Lugo from Kansas City? Because I think if Atlanta wants to trounce the Dodgers come playoff time, they're not only going to have to add starting pitching talent, but they're going to need to block the Dodgers from adding talent to their own roster.
Yep, I think that that's such a good point as well, because not only is it about being able to add to your roster, but blocking these teams that we all know are going to be spending out there. And that's such a great point by you, because that sometimes does not come into play. And I always have to ask you about this because I'm a man from the great state of Wisconsin. Just how do we take a look at the Milwaukee Brewers, and could this be a year that they break character and they really go for it? Because really the last time they made that massive trade deadline move was that memorable, I think it was 2008 season, where they trade for CC Sabathia, so darn near 2 decades ago. Typically they just make a couple small trades that they don't look big at the time, but they end up being big. And for the Brewers, this could be their year with the way that the pitching has been.
Yeah, and ESPN came out with an article, I think it was Jeff Passan maybe even said that, a perfect fit in a perfect world, not saying it's going to happen, but Joe Ryan really would be a perfect fit for Milwaukee. You can see him in that jersey. And I did a full Wake and Rake podcast on the Brewers, the franchise, and how it was able to turn itself around through seemingly a Moneyball 2.0 system. Plate discipline, drawing walks, hitting hard ground balls in a league that is incentivizing home runs and fly balls at an all-time rate, hitting the ball to the opposite field. They do that at a higher rate than anybody in baseball. And so it's hard to calculate Milwaukee because year in and year out, we look at them on paper and we're like, okay, Yelich, all-star, Contreras, all-star, Terang's certainly a stud. Okay, they got Churio. After that, it leaves a little to be desired, at least on paper. But every single year, it seems like, okay, Milwaukee's back into playoffs. Yeah, they're lacking a little bit of star power, but now this year is a little bit different because you have a Jacob Mizorowski that can certainly shut down any lineup in baseball, including the Dodgers. Kyle Harrison, unfortunately, has struggled of late because he's dealing with some arm soreness, apparently. I think if Milwaukee can add another dominant starting pitcher to go along with the Miz, having that 1-2 punch and having the bullpen of McGill, Uribe, I think that's enough to be able to get past a Braves, a Dodgers, a Cubs, a Phillies, or anybody even in the American League. But I do think they are one big starting piece away from truly being able to topple a team like the Dodgers come postseason time.
Yep, I do think so as well. We saw what happened when they made it to the NLCS last year, so they are going to need that piece or two to be able to get them over the top, and that always gets us over the top is Danny Vietti joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And when you just take a look league-wide, is there a team or two that you're just intrigued by over the next week? It might not necessarily be a team that you're bullish on, it might not be a team that you're bearish on, but we talked about the American League just being as random and as crazy as humanly possible. It could be a National League team as well, but is there just a team that you just want to figure out more from them and you feel like they're hitting a critical stretch now that we're reaching the All-Star break?
There's a few of them just because it's going to really set the table for the deadline. If the Toronto Blue Jays fall further back in the standings, they're 2.5 games out, 44 and 49. Maybe that opens things up for Kevin Gausman being on the move. Similarly, the Houston Astros at 46 and 49. They've been playing their best baseball of late, but 3 games under 500, still an uphill climb. Would Jeremy Pena be available over on the National League side of things? San Diego Padres are very interesting to me. At 46 and 46, a lot of guys on the shelf, on the injured list. They've been lucky at this point. When you look at their numbers, lowest in runs scored in baseball, ERA up over 4 as a starting rotation. They've been lucky to be 46 and 46 at this juncture. And so you would expect them to take an even further step backward with new ownership prepared to take over that franchise starting this next year. You wonder if San Diego is going to look to try and deal one of their big contracts away. May it be Xander Bogaerts try to eat some of that money to try and get some of that contract off the books. You wonder if Michael King might be available. You wonder if Mason Miller might be available. So these fringe playoff teams could really help set the table for the deadline, because if they fall further out of contention, they would have no choice but to deal some of these big name players.
Yep, it is going to be so fascinating to see what we get moving forward. There's a lot that's happening in baseball right now, and Danny, you're doing a great job of tracking it all. You and Will do an incredible job with the Wake and Rake podcast. You do an amazing job with CBS Sports and so much more, so love to give people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Appreciate that, Greg. Yeah, like I mentioned, deep rabbit hole with the Milwaukee Brewers. If you want to know how they were able to turn around its franchise seemingly overnight about 10 years ago, go check it out at Wake and Rake Pod across the social handles and Wake and Rake Podcasts on your favorite audio platforms.
Yep, and Danny is doing a great job with those deep dives. He does a great job week in and week out with that podcast, and every single time he joins me, he learns such great insights. So big thanks to Danny for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we cut them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Danny Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports, the Wake and Rake Podcast, and so much more. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Danny for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and the Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. How about if we get things started? 9:01, 9:02 on the card. It's the Brew Crew. They're going to be on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Braxton Ashcraft hopes to not be a load of Ashcraft for Pittsburgh, and Brandon Sprout goes for the Brewers. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5 unders -115, overs -105 on the 8, overs -115, unders -105. Pirates -135 to -142 favorites, +113 to +120 is that number on the Brewers, and I'd be willing to go up to a -138. Set my number at a -139 for Braxton Ashcraft. He's been able to do a nice job in terms of being able to get some good swing and miss stuff, and just being able to keep the ball in the yard. 1 home run and 2.1 walks allowed per 9 innings. His ERA is a 3.24, fielding independent, right on par with that. And Brandon Sprout has been a little bit better recently, but 5.13 ERA, 1.6 home runs, 4.2 walks allowed per 9 innings. And a big reason why I'm in on this over is that the Pittsburgh Pirates, numero uno in all baseball in terms of run creation at home. 5.7 runs per game at home. Now, the pitching needs to be a little bit better than what was yesterday, but you know what? Brandon Lowe is getting loud. He's been able to give you 21 home runs. You've got Ryan O'Hearn doing a nice job giving you 14 plus home runs. His on-base percentage right in the neighborhood about a 345. Brian Reynolds is moving line 395 on base, 14 home runs. Since coming off the injury list, Connor Griffin has been able to give you a little bit more. Now you do have Henry Davis towards the bottom of the fold. That's been a little bit rough, but even Jake Magnum sitting right around about a 300. Nick Gonzalez has been moving line. Again, with this Pirates bullpen, it has been in the bottom 8 in terms of ERA. Gregory Soto has become very much a roll of the dice. Evan Sisk is currently on the injury list, and someone like a Brandon Bedoy over a 6 ERA, that's just not going to cut it for this team. Meanwhile, for the Milwaukee Brewers, this has been a top 8 team in terms of opening area, with having Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, who struggled towards the beginning part of the season, really being able to pick it up. Now you've got Jared Koenig back from injury as well. Chad Patrick is able to give you a little bit of long relief. And for the Brewers, top 5 team in terms of run creation, even though they've got Jake Bauers leading the way with 16 home runs, only 3 players on the roster with a double-figure amount of bombs, but just so many guys that are moving line. Bauers, who I mentioned before, he's in that neighborhood about a 365 on base, and then all these guys are between, we're going to call it about a 349 to a 370 on base. Garrett Mitchell, along with Bryce Terang, even now Cooper Pratt, William Contreras, like all these guys are doing a solid job there. You've had Jackson Chourio, who's been injured throughout the entirety of the season, give you 13 home runs on less than 250 at-bats. So to think that you get a high-scoring game, I like the over, so I told it at 8.8, and for the Pirates, I'm willing to lay up to a -138 on the money line. 9:03, 9:04 on the card. It's the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. He was on a Hunter Green, getting the start for them, and Shota Imanaga for the Cubs. The Cubs are in a pick'em game, -112 to a -105 on both sides. 9.5 is the total. Unders -120. The overs even. I do like the under. So I told 9.3. Now, Hunter Green had a no good, very bad, terrible start his first time out. Made it less than 4 innings, and he gave up 8 runs against the Baltimore Orioles. Not great to say the least. He's got a 21.60 ERA. In his 3 minor league rehab starts, he looked much better. I think that's start number 2. He's going to be able to round into form here a little bit more. And Shota Imanaga has been a little bit better recently. Does have a lower ERA away from home rather than at home now. Has been giving up the deep ball, 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. And for the Reds, getting back Ellie De La Cruz, that's massive. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs, double-figure amount of stolen bases. Typically gives you right in that neighborhood about a 340 to a 350-ish on base. So you do have to like what he's bringing to the table there. And then, obviously, cousin Sal Stewart, he's been able to give you 18 home runs this season. They're dealing with an injury to Blake Dunn, but even with him out, you've had a few guys be able to step up. Spencer Steer, J.J. Bleday, 14 home runs apiece. Bottom of the fold is still a little bit of an issue. Navoli Marte, TJ Friedel, these have been guys that have been rough. Meanwhile, you've got a bunch on the flip side in the Cubs that has been a top 10 team in terms of run creation. All but Dansby Swanson has really been able to pick it up after a seriously rough start to the season. But Ian Happ, along with Alex Bregman, towards the top of the big leagues in terms of men stranded on base. So they've been leaving something to be desired there. You do have to like the fact that Carson Kelly has been able to give you over 350 on base, and Pete Crow Armstrong, really over the last 45 days, has been one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball, over a 370 on base, 19 home runs. But with the Chicago Cubs, they're also now dealing with a bunch of injuries with their bullpen as well. Daniel Palencia is on the injury list. Hobie Milner is on the injury list. So that's leading to them needing to trust in likes of Jacob Webb. They bring back Drew Pomeranz, who's got over a 5 ERA. Trent Thornton, that's a little bit of an issue. And for the Reds, it is a bullpen that overall for the season has been in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA. It has been much better recently, though. This is a Cincinnati Reds bullpen that since June 1st, it doesn't sound like much, but they're 14th in terms of their bullpen ERA. Meanwhile, the Cubs are 23rd. So that's something to be able to take into account. You've had some of these guys like a TJ Antone, Sam Moe, Brock and Rolberg be able to give you a sub 350 ERA. So I did think that the Reds here get a better start off Hunter Green and get the job done. Like the underside, I told 9.3 and want to lay up to a -131 on the Reds. money line out of 5.906 on the card. It's Cardinals. They are going to be on the road against the Braves as Chris Sale hopes to not sell for the Bravos, and Kyle Leahy is on the bum for St. Louis. 8 is the total over and under between -105 to -115, -164 to -168 is that number on the Bravos, and +135 to +140 is that number on St. Louis. If you're looking to lay a run half, by the way, you're able to get plus money right now, even money to +105 on the Braves, and I'd be willing to lay up to a -104 here for Chris Sale. I do think they might be in for a little bit of regression on that ERA, but still, he's been one of the most rock-solid pitchers in all of baseball. Right now, he is supplying for you a 2.27 ERA. That fielding independent is more in the neighborhood of about a 2.90. He's been getting 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so only about 2.3 walks per 9 as well, so he has been very, very solid. And you've got a guy in Kyle Leahy that last year was in the bullpen at this time, and for Kyle Leahy, he's not been bad. 3.86 ERA. He's given up 3 earned runs or fewer in pretty much 11 out of his last 13 appearances. 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3.4 walks per 9, so it's been a little bit up, down all around, and there's a big bullpen disparity in this game as well. For the Atlanta Braves, they've been number 1 in terms of ERA for much of the season. Now they're back down to number 2 at 3.16, but you still have Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, who have been able to give you sub-3 ERA. They do have Robert Suarez on the injury list, but Racio Iglesias has been able to do a very rock-solid job. You've been able to have James Karinchak be able to come through, do a nice job as well. For the St. Louis Cardinals, now 18th in terms of bullpen ERA. Ryan Stanek, Vance Vanson, these are guys give you over a 4 ERA. You've had a lot of issues with some of these guys like Justin Brules, Mitch and Match guys. You're seeing if you guys like a Gordon Gacefo start to go down the toilet bowl a little bit as well. They're just running out of arms because they had that double dip earlier in the week as well. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, they've got massive home and road splits as well. This is a Cardinals team that's averaging over 5.5 runs per game away from home, 3.7 at home. That is huge, to say the least, as Jordan Walker has been great. He's been able to give you 19 plus home runs, actually closer to 20 home runs, and about a 290 or so average. J.J. Weatherall to about a 350 plus on base. Alec Burleson in that neighborhood as well. Lars Nootbaar is moving the line. Ivan Herrera just below a 400 on base. But some of these guys towards the bottom of the lineup, like a Brian Torres, you're going to need a little bit more out of him. Blaze Jordan has been a little bit up and down. And then for the Atlanta Braves, we have seen this offense toilet bowl since June 1st. They've been one of the worst teams in all of baseball, but got on pace yesterday with a 10 spot. Mike Clares, he's still been able to hit a 300 for this team with a double-figure amount of homers. Matt Olson is up to 25 home runs as he, Ozzie Albies, Mauricio Dubon, Dom Smith, all in between about a 265 to 275. Heck, you've even been able to get a little bit more out of the shortstop spot for this team as Jim Jarvis, the young gun, has been able to step up as well. So I do think that the Braves are going to be able to get the job done, and I think that Sale does a great job of not selling. Somebody told 7.9, like the under, and for the Braves, willing to take any sort of even money price on them on the run line. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Diamondbacks. They're going to be on the road against the LA Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani is on the bump for the Dodgers. Currently, it is listed as hold to be determined on the bump for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So this is the game that is presently off the board. If you're looking at Fangraphs, they are currently projecting Eduardo Rodriguez for this start. And if you do get Eduardo Rodriguez against Shohei Ohtani, I'm willing to lay up to about a -122 on the Dodgers run line. I set their money line at a -238, so would need at least +239 to take a shot on the Diamondbacks. Set a total of 8.6, 8.5 or less, and on the over 9 or higher to the under. Now for Shohei Ohtani, he has given up 3+ runs in each out of his last 4 starts, but and he still has a sub-3 fielding independent. He's got an ERA that's hovering in the neighborhood about 2. He's been getting over 9 strikeouts, less than 2.5 walks per 9 innings. He's not allowing the deep ball. He's going to be just fine. And if you don't get Eduardo Rodriguez, it's even worse for the Arizona Diamondbacks because you're probably looking at Brandon Pfaadt, some sort of a minor league call-up or something like that. And Eduardo Rodriguez has been their best starter thus far this season. Right now, supplying a 2.25 ERA, but 4.01 fielding independent, 3.2 walks, 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. So you do have a lot that is going on there. And with this Arizona Diamondbacks team, it's about a league average team in terms of their bullpen ERA. I still don't trust in Paul Sewald at the closer's role, but I think these guys like Kevin Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, Juan Murillo, Taylor Clark, they've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, and it's been a Dodgers bullpen that's been a little bit up and down. We've seen Jack Dreher have his ERA go up a little bit, but Blake Trinan is currently on the injury list, but still, they're 8th in terms of bullpen ERA. Edgar Rinquez has been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. I like the way that these guys have been able to do a nice job in terms of holding down the fort, like an Alex Vesey has been able to give you a sub-325 ERA as well, and then with the Dodgers, they certainly have had more offensive punch when they've been away from home rather than at home. 6 runs per game away from home, or like 4.55 runs per game at home, but still, that's a very solid mark. Shohei Ohtani himself, sometimes he doesn't hit when he is the pitcher in this game, but still, he's been able to give you over 19 home runs, over a 400 on base, and then likes of Max Muncy, Freddie Freeman, Andy Paz, all between about 16 to 18 home runs apiece. You're getting back to Oscar Hernandez as well. Need a little bit more of Kyle Tucker. I think that'll be coming in the second half of the season. And then on the other end for the Arizona Diamondbacks, you just don't have a lot of punch. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte is up to 17 home runs. He's been able to above a 260. Corbin Carroll, he's been able to give you 13 home runs. He's in that neighborhood about a 355 on base. Other than that, nobody else has more than 10 home runs. Nolan Arenado, approximately 10 home runs, but these guys like Tommy Troy, Tim Tewa, at the bottom of the fold, you're kicking the tires on Max Kepler. A lot of guys hitting a 225 or lower. Some fascinating circumstance here. 1 to lifetime minus 122 on the Dodgers run line, plus 239 or better. Looking at the Saints, and then 8.5 or less, like the over 9 or higher to the under. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Rockies. They're going to be on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Tanner Gordon is going to be on the bum for the Rockies, and it's currently listed as to be determined on the bum for the San Francisco Giants. So this is a game that is presently off the board, and if you're looking at Fangraphs, once again, to be able to see who the projected starter is going to be, right now they are showing it's going to be Robbie Ray, and as a result, I've made the Giants a favorite of minus 177. So minus 176 or less, we'll be looking there. Would likely look at the run line a little bit more at a plus 111 or better, plus 178 or better. Looking at the Rockies on the money line, then made a total of an 8.8, an 8.5 or less, like the over, a 9 or higher to the under. As for Robbie Ray, he's been significantly better when he's been at home rather than away from home. He's given up 2+ home runs per 9 innings when he's away from home, and then at home a 2.40 ERA, and he's giving up less than a 1 home run per 9 innings. Overall for the season, 3.45 ERA. 470 fielding, dependent again, has been significantly better when he has been at home, though. And then for Tanner Gordon, he's a guy that I just don't have a lot of faith in. If you look at the fielding and dependent numbers, he should be doing for a lot of positivity on his 6.95 ERA, more of a 5.04 fielding dependent. But the 2.2 home runs per 9 innings, that's an issue. He has gotten up to 9.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 4+ runs allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts. Just been all sorts of brutal there. Now for the Giants, this is a team that's in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, but these guys are starting to pick it up a little bit more. You've got Casey Schmidt along with Rafael Devers combining for 35 home runs going to yesterday. Devers not necessarily to give you the world's greatest on base, but it's been better. Willie Adames 14 home runs again, better than about a 280 or so on pace. But I mean, still, you've got Eloy Ramos back after he was injured. He's hitting above a 300. Bryce Eldridge has been able to give you over 300 on base. Luis Reyes, he's been able to hit about a 325. Jungo Lee has been in and out all season long, but Victor Barracoto in a small sample size has been solid for the team, and the Rockies are averaging over 4.7 runs per game away from home. Typically, this is a team that's absolutely awful with their offense away from home, but Hunter Goodman going into yesterday, he had belted 18 road home runs at inning at 275, actually hitting significantly better when he's been away from home rather than at home. You've had someone like a Cole Carrick be able to hit about a 300. Jake McCarthy is moving line as well, TJ Brownfield, and for both of these bullpens, it's been a little bit rough. For the Giants, only a little bit, and for the Rockies, a lot. I mean, you've got Antonio Senzatel's been solid, but Wamahia, Jane Nill, 5+ ERAs out of both of these guys. Victor Vodnik has had a season to forget. Jimmy Harrigan has been a little bit all over the place, and then for the Giants, are dealing with Matt Gage, Keaton Wynn being on the injury list, Caleb Killian, Dylan Smith, their ERAs are above a 350 along with Eric Miller. So interesting little bit of circumstance here. 8.5 or less, like the over, 9 or higher to the under for the Giants, willing to lay up to a minus 176 on their money line, plus 112 or better on the run line, and then plus 178 or better looking at the Rockies. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Royals. They're going to be on the road against the Orioles, as Brandon Young is on the bum for the Orioles, and you've got one Mr. Luinder Avila going for the Royals. The Royals who find themselves as a pretty good-sized underdog here, and between plus 130 to a plus 135. Meanwhile, minus 150 to minus 155 for Baltimore. 9.5 is a total over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and set the Orioles at a minus 166. I'm going to be willing to roll the dice on them on the money line for Luinder Avila. I mean, it's been a no good, very bad, terrible start to the season for him, but I do think that there's a little bit of positivity here for him. 5.05 ERA, but that's warped by him having that start against the Houston Astros where he gave up 8 runs in 2/3 of an inning. You take that out of the fold. He's been providing a 3.71 ERA, so it's a little bit better. Problem is, he's also backed up by a lineup that's on the bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, so that has not been great to say the least. And even though Luinder Avila is doing for a little bit of positivity, he is still a guy that has been very shaky in terms of command. He has given up 5.4 walks per 9 innings while only getting about 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. And Brandon Young is doing for a little bit of regression, 3.38 ERA, but closer to a 3.89 fielding dependent, 7.2 strikeouts, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. He is backed up by an Orioles lineup that has been neither here nor there, really. 13th in the league in terms of run creation, a little bit better at home with about 4.8 runs per game compared to about 3.2 runs per game when they've been on the road. And for Baltimore, you've had Gunnar Henderson be able to do a nice job in terms of supplying 17+ home runs, but only about a 290 on base. Taylor Ward has been an interesting case. Last year he had 30+ home runs. He's below 7 right now, but still 380 on base. Pete Alonso starting to pick it up, 18+ home runs, 345 on base. You're going to need more of these mix and match guys like Kobe Mayo, Jackson Alday, Colton Cowser, a lot of guys in 225 or lower. Tyler O'Neill, anyone. And then on the other end, you've got a Royals team that has had guys be able to step it up a little bit. Carter Jensen, Jack Caglione are both above 13 plus home runs, both hitting above a 245. You just need more out of Salvador Perez. 11 home runs with about a 250 on base is just simply not going to cut it. They've been without Vinny Pasquantino. These guys like Isaac Collins and company are really not giving a lot of power. Both of these bullpens have been relatively awful, especially the Royals. They've been about a 5 team. There's bullpen area, the likes of Matt Strahm, Alex Lang, Lucas Ercich, give you over a 450 ERA. Steven Cruz has been no good. I like Daniel Lynch, but that's very, very little to say the least. And for the Baltimore Orioles, they've been an above average team with regards to bullpen ERA, but being able to get back some of these pieces that have been on the injury list has been solid. They do lose Ryan Helsley once again, but Uncle Rico Garcia, Ynier Cano, don't you know these guys are giving you a sub 3 ERA, and Tyler Wells has pitched Wells with about a 3 ERA. So good circumstance here, in my opinion, for the Orioles. Set them at a minus 166. Don't want the run line, but I like the money line, and I like the under. Sub by total 9.3. 913, 914 on the card. The Mariners are on the road against the Rays, as Nick Martinez is on the bump for the Rays, and Luis Castillo for the Seattle Mariners. And with the Mariners, you're going to be getting them in a relative pick'em game, anywhere between minus 108 to minus 105 for them, as high as minus 110 as well. Meanwhile, for the Rays, between minus 108 to a minus 115 is their number. 8 is the total. The under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. And I do like the over. I saw my total at an 8.3. Nick Martinez is pitching to a dangerous amount of contact. He is getting only 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But that said, only about 0.9 home runs, 1.6 walks allowed per 9 innings as well. So, and these two guys have the same fielding dependent. 383 for both of them. But Luis Castillo right now is posting up an ERA that is right in that neighborhood about a 480 or so. Meanwhile, Nick Martinez closer to about a 261 ERA, because with Nick Martinez, he has been giving up the deep ball a little bit less. For Castillo, he's getting about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but does give up quite a few more walks as well. And for the Mariners, they're only 27th in the league in terms of scoring, 4.05 runs per game entering into yesterday. Cal Raleigh has been a big fat disappointment for the team. Now, J.P. Crawford, he has been able to give you double figure amount of bombs and a 332 on base, but only getting you 212. You just have not gotten a lot of power out of Josh Naylor as well. Luke Raley has been able to give you 14 to 15 home runs along with Julio Rodriguez, but for Rodriguez right now, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. Raley has not been hitting for a lot of average. Cole Emerson is hitting right around about a 200, and then on the other end of things, got a Rays team that has Junior Caminero with 11 home runs in now, I believe, 15 games, and then Yandy Diaz, along with Jonathan Aranda, 13 plus home runs, both give you over 350 on base. Nick Fortes is moving line, he's hitting above a 250. Ben Williamson, these mix and match guys have been really solid in the lineup. Now, the big thing for the Rays is that they're going to be at a bullpen disadvantage. The Mariners are a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They're dealing with Cooper Criswell, Matt Brash being on the injury list, but Nick Avila, Gabe Spire, Edward Bazardo, these have been guys that have been really good in the bullpen. And for the Rays, the mix and match guys, Casey Lugumina, Cam Boozer, that they have picked up have been relatively solid. These two guys, along with Brian Baker, give you sub 3 ERA. You need more out of the likes of a Cole Sulzer, Garrett Clevenger, but do think that the Rays get to Castillo and get the job done. Like the over, sub by total at 8.3, and for the Rays, 108 to minus 128 on the money line, 915, 916 on the card. It is the Athletics. They are going to be on the road against the White Sox. We know that John Burke is going to be on the bump for the White Sox. It should be Aaron Zavala here for the Athletics, but that's a little bit TBD, and that's why this game is off the board in most places. One opener I'm seeing 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even minus 146 on the Southsiders, and then more of a plus 124, that number on the Athletics. And for the Athletics, if you do indeed get Aaron Zavala, I'm going to be willing to lay it with the White Sox. I set them here at a minus 168 because for Aaron Zavala, he actually pitched for the White Sox last season, and it just has not been going well for him in general. It was looking like things were providing a little bit of upside for him more towards the middle part of the season, and then, man, it has toiled both from there. A 5.10 ERA as he has given up now at least 4 runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts. A 5.50 fielding dependent, 2 home runs per 9 innings allowed, and he's only getting about 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. And John Burke, they'll sometimes utilize an opener for him, so that's something that you do want to be noting. But a 3.56 ERA, 3.74 fielding dependent, 9.7 strikeouts. He's getting 3 walks per 9 innings, but is doing a relatively solid job keeping things out in front of him. And this is a bunch that has the better bullpen with the White Sox as well. So Anthony Dominguez is not necessarily trustworthy, but Grant Taylor, Sean Newcomb, they've been relatively solid. I like what I've seen out of Brian Hudson as well. Even Trevor Richards, who's not necessarily the Mona Lisa Vito of pitching or anything like that, he's been able to lower his ERA more than they neighbored about a 4. And for the Athletics, Justin Sterner gives you right around about a 4 ERA. But I mean, these mix and match guys like Scott Barlow, Mark Leiter Jr., these veterans have been absolutely terrible. They trade away Joe Kuno, is now on the Milwaukee Brewers. Elvis Alvarado has been in the building for giving up a lot of runs in general. And for the Athletics, they are getting back Tyler Soderstrom. That really helps you out because Soderstrom, he was one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball in the month of June. He hits the injury list, but I mean, now he's been able to give you 330 plus on base. He's been able to give you about 14 home runs. You gotta love what you're getting out of Shea Langeliers along with Nick Kurtz. Both of these guys, 19 plus home runs. And Kurtz is one of the best at trying walks in all of baseball. Over a 4 on base. Langeliers more around about a 325 on base, and you're getting Zach Galoff off the injury list as well. Meanwhile, For the White Sox, Montaka Murakami probably going to be coming back after the All-Star break, but you've had Colson Montgomery along with Miguel Vargas be able to carry the mail in the meantime. Both of these guys, 19-plus home runs. For Montgomery, not really give you a lot of average hitting in the neighborhood, about a 220 to a 225 or so, but he's been able to give you that power, and then Vargas more around about a 350 on base. Tristan Peters just below 350 on base. You've had Sam Antonassi supply about a 380 or so with regards to that on base as well. So these home runs are becoming 2-run shots, 3-run shots, and Randall Grichuk has been a really nice find for the team as well. So it's a very fascinating circumstance. I do like that under because I do think that you're going to be able to get a good start out of Burks. I might tell it at 8.4, and for the White Sox would be willing to lay this money line price up to about a minus 160 or so. 917, 918 on the card. It's the Houston Astros. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers, as we do know that Hunter Brown is going to be on the bump for the Astros. Right now, it's all to be determined. That's why this game is off the board. I was thinking it was going to be sort of a wholesale game. You'll probably see Cal Quantrill come in with this one, but if you do get Quantrill, he's probably not going to be going for much more than like 3 or 4 innings or anything like that. So as a result, I did set the Houston Astros here to where I'm willing to lay up to about a minus 126 on them. Would need at least plus 127 for the Rangers, and I did set a total of it at 7.6. So I would be looking at this total right now to the under, mainly because for Hunter Brown, he has been that good. I recognize that his last start out was not necessarily the world's greatest, but for Hunter Brown, he has been able to do a just tremendous job in terms of getting swings and misses in a relatively small sample size. Has missed some time due to injury, 338 ERA. He is up to a 445 fielding independent because he has given up 5.2 walks per 9 innings, but the 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings really stand out to me, and that one start against the Rays really warps his numbers. 3 runs or fewer allowed in all but one of his starts this far this season, but that one hurt him. And for the Astros, while you take a look at the overall season numbers for their bullpen ERA, it's in the bottom half of all baseball. If you look since June 1st, they're actually second in bullpen ERA. Like, you've had Josh Hader be able to come back. He's been rock solid. AJ Bluebaugh has been able to get his ERA below 4. Brian Abreu has been awful for this team, but the other Brian King, he has been the king of being able to give you some good innings. So, I mean, it's an Astros bullpen that has been quite a bit better recently. They go up against the Texas Rangers team that's been absolutely awful with their offense at home, and Arlington does really warp your offensive numbers. Are 27th in the big leagues in terms of runs per game at home, with about 3.76 runs per game at home going into the day on Thursday. And for Texas, they're just dealing with a rash of injuries as well. Having Wyatt Langford back out of the fold has hurt them. Corey Seager, even when he's been in, has not been himself. You've got guys that are able to move the line, like a Justin Foscue. They should be getting Langford back for this weekend. I believe that he was back last night as well, so that's going to help you out. Ezekiel Duran, he's been hitting right around about a 270, but really not a lot of pop. Jake Berger was the only guy in the starting lineup yesterday with a double-figure amount of homers, because you've had Jock Peterson be a little bit in and out as well. And then for the Rangers, for as good as the bullpen of the Astros has been over the last 60 or so days, since May 1st, they've been in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You do still have Tyler Alexander, Jacob Latz, who've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Peyton Gray has been solid, but Cole Winn, after he had a sub 2 ERA last year, was awful. Jacob Junis, he's landed on the injured list as well, so that's not necessarily great for the team. And for Cal Quantrill, he's always been a jag, as I like to call him, just a guy. Right now, he's been able to give you a 335 ERA, but the fielding depends more around a 466. Has always been a pitch contact guy. 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only given up 1.1 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9 innings. Again, Arlington really suppresses offense. And then for the Astros, it is a little bit of top-heavy lineup. You do have a lot of these outfielders like Joey Lupervino, Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo, Bryce Matthews, a lot of guys hitting at 225 or lower. Cam Smith has been a little bit better, but still a little bit shaky there. But then you got Yordan Alvarez, 25-plus bombs, over a 4 on base. Christian Walker's been able to give you 19-plus home runs. Isaac Paredes moves the line with about a 350 on base, even though Jose Altuve is not himself from his peak form, still is Jose Altuve. So if we can get the Astros more around a minus 125, which I think we should be able to when it's all said and done, I'd be looking at them on the money line. Might even be willing to go up to a minus 130 if the situation breaks right, and I do like the under. I did so I told you here at a 7.6, 919, 920 on the card. It's the Twins. They're going to be playing us to the LA Angels. We do know that Zebby Matthews is going to be on the bump for the Twins, and right now for the LA Angels, it's all to be determined. So this is a game that is presently off the board. This is looking like it's going to be Grayson Rodriguez, and if you do get Grayson Rodriguez, I'd be willing to lay this with the Minnesota Twins. I set them at a minus 148 because for Grayson Rodriguez, when he's in peak form, Grayson Rodriguez is really, really good, but he missed the entirety of last season due to injury. You can tell that the swing and miss stuff is not there, and the command has been absolutely terrible. Like, this will be his first start in about 4 or so weeks. 8.06 ERA with 5.3 walks per 9 innings. When he was with the Orioles, he was a career more around 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings guy, down to about 8.4 strikeouts this season. And then Zebby Gabby Matthews has just done a nice job in terms of holding down the fort for the Minnesota Twins in his last few starts. His first starts were just absolutely awful, but has now given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts. Overall for the season, 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, way down from the 10 that he had last season. He is giving up 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, so 4.43 ERA, more around about a 5.10 fielding dependent, so that does cause you a little bit of trepidation there, and that is a big reason why I am going to be willing to take a shot here on the over. I did set my total at a 9.1, especially with the Angels entering into yesterday, being a top 10 team in terms of run creation away from home. You've got Mike Trout in the fold once again, so that's going to be able to help you out. He's been able to give you darn near a 390 plus on base. You've got Zach Neto's been able to give you about 15 plus home runs as well. So, I mean, you've got some power. It's a little bit of an all or nothing lineup that doesn't draw a lot of walks, strikes out quite a bit. But even someone like a Wade Meckler has been able to hit above a 275 for this team. Denzar Guzman has been able to give you a bit of something. And with the Angels, they've actually been closer to a league average bullpen in terms of ERA ever since the beginning of the month of May. But I mean, you still have a lot of question marks with this team. Mitch Paris is not the world's worst long guy. He, Jose Fermin, give you a sub 4 ERA. Like Jay Silseth and Sammy Natera Jr., but Ryan Zefrian has been an issue. Kirby Yates, you just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him at this point. And the Minnesota Twins have just been absolutely awful in this bullpen. Like, Yandris Gomez has given you a sub 350 ERA in this bullpen, and pretty much nobody else has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA overall for the season. Andrew Morris has picked it up a little bit, but likes of Taylor Rogers, Eric Orze, man, like, you just go down the list of all these guys that are just absolutely terrible. Anthony Bando has been a disappointment this year, a little bit better recently, but man, not great there. But you do have a Minnesota Twins team that has been able to provide some wallop. You've got Byron Buxton on the injury list, so that hurts this team a little bit, but Josh Bell, since the beginning of the month of June, has really kicked up his on base. He's back up to 13 home runs. Cody Clemens has been able to give you 16 bombs. Brooks Lee has been able to give you 14 home runs. Clemens and Lee both hitting about a 250. Alec Martin has been able to give you about a 360 on base. Trevor Larnach a 375 on base. So I do think that they get to Rodriguez here. I like the over set by till 9.1, and for the Twins, I'd be willing to lay the money line up to about a minus 148, 921, 922 on the card. The Phillies, they're going to be on the road against the Detroit Tigers, as you've got Aaron Nola hoping to be super for the Phillies, and Captain Jack Flaherty is on the bump for the Tigers. Right now, the Tigers are minus 120, plus 102 is that number on the Phillies, and total I am seeing, as we're only got 1 or 2 openers out there, is a 9. The under is minus 120, and the over is an even, and I do like the under in this spot. I did set my total at an 8.8. I know that this is a big giant roll of the dice, but you know what? With Aaron Nola, I do think that there's going to be a little bit of positivity in here, and I have been an Aaron Nola hater all season long, but I've also been a Jack Flaherty hater all season long, so it's a situation of something's got to give, and I don't expect much out of either of these offenses as well, because you take a look at it, this is a Detroit Tigers team that they have been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation, about 4.25 runs per game overall this season, and for the Philadelphia Phillies, they're solid with their offense at home, 4.9 runs per game, less than 4 runs per game away from home, and we know this with the Phillies. They are a very top-heavy lineup, as for the Phillies, you've got Kyle Schwarber, who's been able to give you 32 plus home runs. You've been able to get great production as well, with over 20 home runs and nearly a 360 on base out of Bryce Harper. And I will say, Brandon Marsh has been able to do a pretty solid job hitting at 300. He's been able to give you double-figure amount of homers. Trey Turner, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, they've been a little bit better recently, but you still have to have a lot of question marks with these guys. And then just Gabriel Raconis, Adolis Garcia, these outfielders have not been able to produce anything whatsoever. Meanwhile, for the Detroit Tigers, I know that Dylan Dingler has been a little bit in and out of the lineup over the last few days, so that's something that is highly questionable with this team. You do have a pair of guys in Riley Green and Kevin McGonigal, who have been able to give you over a 350 on base, so these guys have been relatively rock solid, but these guys like Matt Bierling, Zach McKinstry, Jake Rogers, James Eltman, you've got a lot of guys that are hitting below a 225, not necessarily supplying a lot of power, and even though Spencer Torkelson has been able to give you 15 plus home runs, but he's only hitting at 215 as well, so that's been a big issue. And for the Phillies, even though they're a little bit top heavy with regards to their bullpen as well, you still have 2 guys in Yohan Duran or Ryan Kerkering who have been very good. These guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA throughout the season. Tanner Banks has been a little bit of an issue. You've got Brad Keller on the injury list, and Jose Alvarado is just never going to be himself. But do you think that you get a little bit of positivity here? And while on the flip side for the Tigers, they've actually been a top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st. You've really been able to get a lot recently out of Tyler Holden back down below 4 ERA. Drew Summers has been a nice find. Still interested in Kenley Jansen at the closer's role, but Kyle Finnegan, he's been able to come out there. He's been able to give you sub 3 ERA. Cardier Montero, he should be able to give you some nice innings as well. So even though these starters are not trustworthy, I do like the 9 to the under, so I total total at 80.8, and I'm in on the Phillies on the money line. Made them the favorite at minus 116, 923, 924 on the card. The Yankees are going to be on the road against the Nationals as Carson Palmquist is the opener for Zach Littell here for the Nationals. Ryan Weathers hopes to weathers the storm for the Yankees. Yankees minus 157 to minus 163 favorites, plus 135 to plus 150 is that number on Washington. 9.5 to 10 is the total on the 10. Unders minus 120, the overs even on the 9.5. Overs minus 120 and the unders even. It's a dangerous game here with regards to this total because the Yankees were able to have a nice little outburst yesterday, but they have scored now 62 runs in their last 19 games, so about 3.2, 3.3 runs per game there, and the Nationals are numero uno, averaging 5.4 runs per game this season. And for Zach Littell, it's been really interesting the way that the opener system has been working for him because Carson Palmquist, he's got a 7.11 ERA. He's not going to be out there for much more than an inning or two, but for Zach Littell, he has been significantly better since coming out of the bullpen. The team is actually now 7-5 in the last 12 games in which he pitches. He's had a 3.03 coming out of the bullpen ERA, 6.07 with nearly 3 home runs per 9 innings allowed as a starter. And Ryan Weathers, he's been getting lit up recently as well. 5 out of his last 7 starts, he has allowed at least 4 runs, 4.29 ERA, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings as far this season. So between a 9.5 to a 10, I set my total here at a 9.7. I'd rather have the 9.5 to the over just because this is a Nationals team that has just been so good with their offense all season long. James Wood has been able to give you good wood. He's up to 22 plus home runs. His on-base percentage is just a hair below a 400. CJ Abrams, Luis Garcia both had 19 plus home runs this season. Dallin Lyle's been a guy that's been able to move the line. You do have a few guys towards the bottom that might be a little bit wishy-washy in terms of being able to reach base, but overall this has been a just killer lineup in general, especially against left-handed pitching if you get any of those in this game. Meanwhile, you've got a Yankees bunch, and Ben Rice has been able to give you 22 plus home runs, and he's been able to give you over 350 on base. Paul Goldschmidt along with Cody Bellinger, both of these guys back down below a 340 on base, and Weathers, by the way, is a lefty, so that helps you out even further with the Washington Nationals. But you've got these guys like a Ryan McMahon for the Yankees, the entirety of the catcher spot not hitting. Anthony Volpe doesn't really give you a lot of power. Now, I will say this for the Yankees. Ever since June 1st, they've actually been number 1 in terms of opening ERA. David Bednar's up and poop at the Bednar, back below a 3.30 ERA. Camilo Duvall is still not good, to say the least. But Francisco Cruz has been able to do a nice job. They had to start Paul Blackburn yesterday, but he's been a good long guy as well. And for the Washington Nationals, let's call it what it is. This is the bottom 10 team in terms of opening ERA, but PJ Poulin has been able to give you some relatively solid innings, 3.35 or so. ERA actually a little bit lower than that. You've had Brad Lord say, oh Lord, to having to be a little bit of a long guy, and now he's on the injury list. That's not necessarily great, to say the least, along with Richard Dickey Lovelady. Orlando Robalto, though, has been able to give you a sub 3.35 ERA. I do think that Littell going to give up some hard contact here, so I do like the over, but with the Nationals, I set on a plus 127. We'll take that plus 140 plus on the money line. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Guardians. They are going to be on the road against the Marlins. Sandy Alcantara is on the bump for the Fish, and you got Parker Messick, who is going to be going for the Cleveland Guardians. This is a relatively pick'em game with the Marlins. You're going to be getting them in that neighborhood about a minus 110 to a minus 118, even money to minus 108 on Cleveland. 7.5 is the total, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and Guardians are averaging 3.5 runs per game in their last 31 games, but I'm going to take a shot on the over because since June 1st, the Miami Marlins have the most wins in all of baseball, and they've been averaging in that time span 5.3 runs per game. This despite the fact that the Miami Marlins really don't have a lot of power. As I like to say, they're the Southeast version of the Milwaukee Brewers right now because you look at them in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, they and the Milwaukee Brewers are right towards the bottom of the big leagues. For the Brewers, they are dead sinking last. For Miami, they're right around about 24th, but they just find a way because they steal so many bases. These guys like Esterio Ruiz, who's been a little bit banged up, Jacob Morrissey, Otto Lopez, Xavier Edwards, a whole bunch of guys that are giving you a double-figure amount of stolen bases. As a matter of fact, you look at stolen bases per game, the Miami Marlins are right there with Washington Nationals atop the league, and I do think that that's going to be big against a guy in Parker Messick, who's been able to give you a 2.80 ERA. He's giving you about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.8 home runs per 9, and it's a Guardians bullpen that's right around about 10th in terms of ERA. You've had Hunter Gaddis be able to right the ship a little bit. Cade Smith has been one of the better closers in all of baseball. They didn't have to really go into that bullpen too much yesterday, so that's going to help them out. Some of the mix and match guys have been a little bit of an issue, but again, with the Guardians, what are you going to be able to get offensively? You've got Travis Bazzana, Chase Delauder, Brian Rocchio, or between about a 335 to a 345 on base, but who's really that power guy that's going to help you out? Kyle Manzardo's at 10 home runs, but he's hitting at 215. You've had Khalil Watson now hitting about a 215. Gabriel Reyes, it feels like the entire of this team, aside from their top 3 guys, are in between about about a 215 to a 220 right now. So that's a little bit of an issue. But for the Miami Marlins, even though you don't have a ton of walloping, you've got Liam Hicks, who's been able to give you 13 plus home runs. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base. And then with Lopez and Edwards, who I mentioned before, both of these guys hitting above a 300. Stereo Reed's up to a 350 on base. Jacob Marcy gives you a double figure amount of stolen bases. Only it's a 200, but still a 320 on base. And for the Miami Marlins, this has been a team that has been in the top 8 in terms of bullpen area. They are dealing with a few injuries, and Lake Picard had a miserable go of it when trying to protect the perfect game of Erie Perez about a week or so ago. But Michael Peterson, great name. He's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Calvin Fauché has really ballooned up with a 4+ ERA, and you do have Anthony Bender and company on the injury list, but some of these other guys like a William Kepner have been able to step up, and Sandy Alcantara, you know what you're going to get out of him. Only about 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he keeps things out in front of him. He's one of the best in terms of lending length in all of baseball, so you have to worry about that bullpen a little bit less with him. I do think that he gets the job done here. I do like the over, so by total 7.9. And for the Marlins, set them at -127 and on their money line. 927, 928 on the card. The Red Sox are going to be on the road against the Mets as Noah McLean is on the bump for the Mets, and Sonny Gray hopes to have a sunny day here for the Red Sox. And with the Red Sox, you're going to be getting them as a mid-tier underdog here between +113 to a +117. Meanwhile, -127 to -136 is that number on the Mets. 7.5 is the total over and under, both at -110. And for the Red Sox, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them. I needed at least a +115 to be able to do so. For the Red Sox, they just still continue to have some of the most wackadoo home and road splits I've ever seen in my life. The Red Sox are dead sinking last in terms of run creation at home, 3.55 runs per game, but going into the day on Thursday, 4.65 runs per game away from home. That's actually an above average mark. And for the Red Sox, they've been like 10 games below 500 when they've been at home thus far this season. But again, on the road, these are guys that are right now getting the job done. They're 26 and 21 away from home. You've been able to have a few guys be able to step up. You've got the likes of Masataka Yoshida, Sadan Rafael, Weiler Abreu, Isaiah Kinner, Falefa, giving you in that neighborhood about a 325 to a 335 on base. You're able to throw in there Brett Harris as well. Relatively a small sample size there. It's been Wilson Contreras carrying the mail in terms of the deep ball. He's been able to give you 20 plus home runs. He's been able to give you over 375 on base, but Anthony Siegler has been able to step up as well. And this has been a Red Sox bullpen that all season long has been solid. I know that Aroldis Chapman had a few trials and tribulations over the last week or two, but he's been one of the best closers in all baseball. Garrett Woodlock, a sub-3 ERA, and Teron Guerrero has done a nice job holding down the fort with guys like Tyler Semenaijo and company dealing with injury. This is a Red Sox bullpen that currently is a top 4 team in terms of bullpen ERA, right around about a 330. Meanwhile, for the Mets, it's been starting to toilet bowl for them. They're down to 13th in terms of bullpen ERA. As Austin Warren has been absolutely terrible for them over the last week or so. Now, you do have some of these guys that have been able to come in there, hold down the fort, like Luke Weaver, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley. They've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. AJ Minter since coming off the injury list has been solid, and they used Devin Williams yesterday. That's actually a good thing, but for the Mets, they just continue to be one of the most miserable offenses in all of baseball as well. Right now for this Metropolitans team, they are about 23rd in the league. They are averaging closer to about 4.5 runs per game at home, and Juan Soto has been great, 21 home runs, about a 400 on base, and the one other guy that got in at bat yesterday with above a 332 on base is AJ Ewan. He's been relatively solid now. Carson Benj, Bo Bichette, these guys in between about a 255 to 270. Francisco Alvarez is giving you a little bit of something, but the likes of Brett Beatty, Francisco Lindor, Tyrone Taylor, Mark Vientos, Louis Torrance like mad. These guys rating a 225 or lower, and really none of them are providing power right now, so that's a little bit of an issue. And Sonny Gray, he's down with his swing and miss stuff. His swing and miss stuff is about as low as it's been in about a decade, but he might not have the best stuff, but he knows how to use it right now, for lack of better terms, for you gentlemen out there. 261 ERA, about a 361 fielding independent, 1 home run, 2.3 walks per 9 innings allowed, 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings this far this season, and I think that he goes out there, gets the job done, especially with Noah McLean just being a little bit shaky recently. For McLean, he's still been able to give you the 10 plus strikeouts per 9 innings, but it has been inconsistent with him all season long right now, supplying a 373 ERA, 352 fielding dependent, as he's only giving up 0.9 home runs, 3.3 walks per 9 innings, but he's just had a lot of, shall we say, funky starts recently. I wish I could put it any other way. You'll take a look at his home and road splits right now as well, and he's been supplying an ERA of a 5.03 at home compared to a 2.55 ERA away from home. So with the Red Sox plus 115 or better, I do like the money line, and I did something I told you here at a 7.8, so like the 7 after the over, wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. It's the Padres playing us to the Toronto Blue Jays, as Shane Bieber should be the starter for the Blue Jays. Right now it's listed as CBD, should be going there. JP Sears goes for the Padres. Padres are -112, -104 on the Blue Jays. 8.5 is the total, under is -120, and the over is even. And these are two wretched starters, but I'm going to press my luck and I'm going to go under in this case. I did set my total here at an 8.3. Shane Bieber, 9 ERA thus far this season. So even if it's not Shane Bieber, it's not like you're going to get a big giant downgrade here with the Blue Jays. 13 runs allowed in 13 innings. But the good news is the Padres are dead second last in terms of run creation. 3.9 runs per game. That goes down to 3.6 at home. And as we know, San Diego is one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks out there in all of baseball. You've got Fernando Tatis Jr. still stuck on 5 stinking home runs this far this season, and they just have not been able to find guys to move the line in general. Like, yeah, Manny Machado has 18 home runs, but he's hitting a 188, and then the likes of Jackson Merrill, Gavin Sheets, Cy Young Song, Jake Cronenworth, they're all hitting at 230 or lower, so it's been awful. Xander Bogaerts is hitting at 228 as well, so you've had all sorts of issues there. Now, for the Padres, it's still one of the better bullpens in all of baseball, but we really saw that toilet bowl when they gave up the 23 spot to the Cubs a few nights ago. They've got Jason Adam now on the injury list as well, but Wandy Peralta, Mason Miller, Yuki Matsui, these are guys give you a sub-3 ERA, and Adrian Morejon, he had a just miserable start to the season. Overall for the season, he's got a 3.52 ERA, but you look at things over the last 30 days, and he's been able to supply a sub-2 ERA. And for the Blue Jays, silently, they've been able to really be able to put together some nice bullpen pieces. Tommy Nance is back below a 4 ERA. I mean, their main two guys are Louis Varland along Tyler Rogers. They've both been able to give you a sub-2.25 ERA. Brandon Fisher has been neither here nor there recently, but I mean, they've really been able to do a nice job being able to get things a little bit more online. And with regards to JP Sears on the flip side, well, he's got a 4.70 ERA in his 3 starts, which isn't awful at the big league level. 6.03 fielding independent. He's been giving up 2.3 home runs, 2.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. And you look at what he did at the AAA level for El Paso. 7.92 ERA. Not great to say the least, and that was not like 2 or 3 starts, that was 14 starts. And for the Blue Jays, yeah, it's been rough for Vlad Guerrero Jr., 5 or 6 home runs this far this season. You need more there because Kazuma Okamoto is a lone guy that's been able to give you 10 plus home runs, but it is a Blue Jays team that is a top 4 team in terms of few strikeouts on a per at-bat basis. I recognize that they've been dealing with a few injuries, but do have quite a few guys they're able to move line. AC Sanchez being out of the fold has been rough, but I mean, you pair up Vlad Guerrero Jr. along with a guy like a Yohendrick Pinago, Ernie Clement, Nathan Lukes. These have been guys that have been able to hit above a 260 for the team, so they're able to move the line, and I do think that Shane Bieber is going to round into a little bit of better form here. I set the Blue Jays at a minus 121, like that money line, and on the under, semi-total at 8.3, and that'll wrap things up for the Friday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. A big thanks to our guy Danny Vietti over at CBS Sports for joining me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, large CM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day. Give you guys picks and analysis on every single game, every single day. So I'll be back with you once we get them out. Thank you.